the energy that you will have that will compound over time when you are on simmer attention is something that is true. And it's so true that not only human beings can feel it, but also animals. Every single time I retain, my energy becomes so magnetic. So what do I mean by magnetic? My energy became so magnetic that animals start coming out of nowhere. I remember one day when I was even on a longer streak, even though I don't really like to use this word streak because it doesn't really exist. The only thing that exists is the present moment. The past does not exist. The future does not exist. The only thing that exists is the present moment. And that's where all of your thoughts should be in the first place, in the present moment. Okay? And if you cannot live in the present moment, start to do mindfulness meditation. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, 25, it doesn't matter. Start to do meditation. Why should you do meditation? Meditation will reorganize your thoughts. You will see those thoughts, especially if you have the urges to watch pornography, or if you just basically want to go on lust, or if you want to do something emotional. Something emotional like what? Like going and drinking, going and watching pornography like I've told you, lusting, etc. Doing those came mostly from your limbic system and not from your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that makes you think logically. And so what happens here is that you really start to chill on those thoughts. You really become a high vibrational person by really looking at those thoughts without emotions. So instead of thinking and visualizing yourself lusting, watching pornography, etc., right? Drinking alcohol or whatever, you start to perceive this thought and you really stop here for a second. You generally stop and you start to think with your own consciousness or with logic, okay? You start to think with logic and you're like, this decision is not who I am. This decision came mostly from other people that have limiting beliefs and they use it as a coping mechanism. Those are the type of conclusions that you're gonna come up when you're gonna be on the longer streak when it comes to simmer attention, but also when you're gonna be doing meditation. There's things that you will see in this journey that you've never thought you will see your entire life. There's things that are very strange that happen to you. And it only happened to you when you are on simmer attention. And that's why a lot of times I keep mentioning this, that if you have porn addiction, which I'm the coach, I'm literally a coach and I've made countless amount of people overcome this addiction, hundreds of people, of men specifically, right? And if you want to overcome this addiction as quick as possible, you either go and watch the first link in the description, which is obviously a small little playlist. Go watch it. It's only 3 videos. And those are the exact framework that made all of my clients overcome porn addiction. Or you can click on the second, link in the description, which is my website. You will see testimonials and you can book a free discovery call to see if you are a good fit. But other than that, let's put this aside. I give you a lot of things on this channel. I give you a lot of solutions, a lot of things that you can do in order to overcome porn addiction. One of the most, or one of the best things that you can do, it's a little bit hard, of course, but is it hard really? Or is it just a limiting belief? It might be a limiting belief. That's the reason why I said it. See, now I became conscious about my own thoughts. But what I'm trying to explain here is simmer attention will make you vibrate on a higher frequency. So let me explain. Let me elaborate more. Vibrating on a higher frequency means vibrating on the best or better version of yourself. Vibrating on the better version of yourself, well, obviously, right, the better version of yourself is not watching low vibrational videos, which is pornography, right? Things start to make sense now. If your current version of yourself is watching pornography, what you have to do is simmer attention. So by doing simmer attention, you will have this thing called the identity shift. You will shift your identity by going from your current version, which is a guy who is watching pornography and relapsing every other day or every single day or whatever, or multiple times per day, to a person who is no longer seeing pornography as what it is really, basically. Because if you think about it, you probably have to question yourself more and become super conscious. What is pornography? Why should I watch pornography in the first place? And you will also, if you keep studying stuff like this and you really start to understand and you start journaling, because that's what I do with my clients. It's just that I help them and I tell them the specific questions that they have to ask themselves. But for you, you just can do it by your own. Like literally, it's not hard. You will start to ask yourself some questions that are, let's say, a little bit like philosophical. Okay? You might have a existence, like crisis existence, something. This is what you call it, crisis existence, something like that. You start to ask yourself, why do I even exist, and so on, blah blah blah. All of those, philosophical deep questions. And so, what's gonna happen is, you will come up with another conclusion: is that you watch pornography because you are using it as a coping mechanism. You're not watching pornography because you enjoy it. You watch pornography because you feel a very specific emotion right before you go on relapse. And let me ask you this, right? If you think what I'm saying is not really true, obviously it's, if you're addicted, you get what I'm saying, it's truthful, obviously it's correct. But let me ask you this question, right? Generally, I want you to relax here for a second and think about it for a second and actually answer this in the comments so I can really see if you're actually serious. But ask yourself this question. Do you really think, or do you really have sexual thoughts when you are doing something that you are enjoying? Let me repeat this for a second, right? Do you think about sexual thoughts when you are doing something that you enjoy? I don't know. Do you watch, if you watch football and you're like watching football, do you think about sexual thoughts? When you play basketball or when you play football or when you play a sport, do you think about watching pornography? I'm very sure I literally can bet £1 million or $1 million that you will never have a sexual thought crossing your mind when you're doing something that you're enjoying. And by this, if you really think about it here again for a second, you will see that, wait, that makes sense. I never think about sexual thoughts or a very specific video or visualizing yourself, masturbating, right? When I'm happy. I only do when I have a negative emotion, even though emotions are not negative. Emotions are just there. It's how you perceive the emotions. But obviously, I'm not going to go deep into this. This is another topic. But you're only going to go and watch pornography and masturbate and relapse when you're going to feel a negative emotion. So what do I mean by negative emotion? Yeah? What I mean by negative emotion is boredom. Boredom is not really a negative emotion for me. But I'm just going to say what everyone thinks is a negative emotion. Boredom, sadness, exhausted, tired, right? And so on. And you overthinking, stressed, anxious, all of those emotions that are quote unquote negative are the one that will push you to go and watch pornography. Why would they push you to go and watch pornography? Because you don't know how to handle those emotions. So in order to stop watching pornography, what you have to do is self-reflect. Learn how those emotions work and learn how to react differently when you feel those emotions and change your beliefs towards those emotions. For example, if you feel stressed, instead of coping with it, learn how to down-regulate your nervous system. Because think about it. When you're stressed, what happens to your body? Your nervous system is on flight or fight mode. Your nervous system thinks that you are on survival mode. What's going to happen here is that you're going to start to feel negative. You're going to start to overthink. There's a freaking fly. You're going to start overthinking. You will feel uncomfortable in your body, and so on. What you have to do instead is meditate. By meditating, or any sort of meditation, mindfulness meditation or whatever, it will down-regulate your nervous system. And by doing this, right, you will no longer feel anxious or stressed. And also, another thing that I want to add, of course, is that learn how this works, how this emotion works specifically. Because I can give you an example, it's a CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone, which is cortisol, the hormone of the stress, which is released in your body, blah, blah, blah. I can keep telling you this and so on, because that's what I teach inside our coaching program. I go into very deep stuff, and I go into a lot of perspectives. It can be quantum physics, it can be religious, it can be neurological, it can be scientific, and so on. All of those perspectives that I go into in order to make you overcome this addiction, basically. But just really think about it for a second and start to journal. And of course, when you're going to do this as well, when you're going to be on serum retention, right? Over time, serum retention will become easier. And not NoFap, serum retention, because NoFap is bullshit. And I've already made a video about it. That's all I want you to understand. Literally. That's all you have to do. Really think about it for a second and do everything I told you in this video. Every single actionable step that I give you in the video, make sure to do it. If you don't do it, you will simply stay stuck in the same shameful loop. And if you think everything that I said in this video is hard and you cannot really do it on your own, you either, talk to me in the comments, tell me, okay, I didn't understand this, can you elaborate more? Or you can click on the second link in the description. You can book a free discovery call to see if you are a good fit. It was a freaking fly. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Mwah.